Hello again, everyone. This is Louis Setti speaking to you as the Blue Ridge Reporter. And in this particular presentation, I'd like to discuss again how a presidential Republican debate recently in the fall or late summer of 2011 raised the issues of what is science, what is not science, and a response to the global warming claim that I have never heard made. And I'll set up the situation as follows. During one of the recent Republican presidential primary debates, one of the candidates who was then perhaps at the lowest polling numbers and whose name escapes me at the moment, was a governor, I believe, of Utah. And anyway, a Rocky Mountain state governor. And at one point, he kind of chastised his Republican colleagues, saying that we cannot ignore science. And it appeared to me he was referring to what he believed was a scientific fact of global warming, not evolution, but global warming, because later on when Governor Perry responded, he responded as if he too thought it was about global warming. And the governor, who was a proponent of the belief that global warming was a fact, again said it was based on science. But that raises the question, what is science? In the sense that there might be scientific theory, and then separate from that there would be scientific fact. I'm not a scientist, and if you spoke with me at any length you would know that for sure. But I do know this: replication, to be able to replicate a phenomenon is a way to prove the phenomenon exists. That's what those Bunsen burners and plastic tubes you could bend and the little blue flames that you saw in chemistry class were all about, replicating the experiment, right? Now, then there's, of course, theory. Regarding global warming, I contend it's a theory founded on very shaky foundations from this particular homespun, but I think compelling analysis. Science, so-called, teaches us that however many millions of years ago, so they say, the polar ice caps from the North Pole extended as far down as to regions that are now within what is known as the United States, even below Chicago, almost down to the Ohio River, and on the other side of the globe, down below Moscow. But yet, those ice masses retreated over time, again, in a very, very rough way, many hundreds of miles, perhaps more than 1,000 miles. But the global warming proponents tell us the relatively minuscule amounts compared to those lengthy amounts of retreat that we've experienced recently are due to the carbon combustion activity of the age we live in, which brings us to this thought. Way back when those polar ice caps retreated so very, very far, the only carbon combustion that occurred was from the little itty-bitty campfires set by primitive peoples living around the globe. That raises a number of issues. Could global warming then be explained today by the massive amount of carbon combustion when virtually inconsequential carbon combustion would explain the retreat of the polar ice caps so far, if that theory were in fact the controlling reason why the ice caps retreated. Does that make sense? It also explains how what is accepted science now by some, the retreat of the earlier ice caps and the global warming phenomenon, they're accepted by some folks as science, yet they would seem contradictory to me because the explanation for the current retreat of the ice caps is about carbon combustion. So that's just a comment about science and a kind of a cocksure attitude this one candidate had about it's science, how can we ignore it? And there's a big difference between scientific theory and scientific fact, in that science itself can be in conflict regarding an explanations for such things as the retreat of the polar ice caps. So I guess we might add to the things about which one must be skeptical when politicians speak. Be very careful indeed when politicians speak about science. Thank you. I hope you come back and see another video of the Blue Ridge Reporter. Thank you again.